A CEO decided it was time to retire. He and his wife had started this business from scratch many, many years ago, and now he was just turning 70, and he said, honey, it's time for me to pass the baton off of this company to someone else. And the wife was so happy to hear him say that. So the following Monday, he called an impromptu board meeting of all 21 executives in that company. And he said, ladies and gentlemen, I've got some exciting news for all of you, but for especially one of you, because my wife and I have decided it's time for me to pass the baton on. One of you in this very room, 1 year from today, will be named the next CEO of this incredible, wonderful, successful company. And one of the executives said, well, tell us how you're going to decide whom will it be. And as soon as the question was asked, the executive pushed the teleconference button, and in walked the secretary with 21 envelopes. And at the direction of the CEO, the secretary went to each executive, gave each one 21 envelopes, one to each executive. The CEO said, every one of you are starting on level ground. I am not going back into your history. I don't want to know how many sales you made. I don't want to know how your department is doing. I am going to determine the next CEO of this company based on what you do with the seed that's in your envelope. Open up your envelopes, he said. Everyone did, and there was a little seed in each envelope. Here's the challenge, the CEO said. I want you to take this seed, the seed that I've given you, I've presented to you, and I want you to plant it and water it and feed it and nurture it. And 1 year from today, we are going to select the next CEO based on how you treat that seed that I just handed to you. They were all excited. One of the ladies said, and I have such a green thumb. This is a shoo-in for me. You're looking at the next CEO. And one by one executive said, yeah, but my wife, she's got the green thumb. You're in trouble. And they really enjoyed the challenge. That night, one of the executives named Charles came home very discouraged. Charles didn't have a lot of self-confidence. And his wife said, honey, what's wrong? And Charles told her the story. And she said, well, let me see your envelope. And he handed her the envelope, and there's this little white seed. She said, I am so excited. Let's go to Home Depot. We'll get a planter. We'll get compost. We'll get fertilizer. You're going to be the next CEO. He said, oh, honey, I don't know. But with her confidence, they went and got all the supplies they needed. And that night, Charles and his wife planted that seed. Every day it was watered. The seed was fed. The compost was put in place. And within 3 or 4 weeks of the meeting, the executives started to bring pictures in on their phone of their plant and their planters. Oh my goodness. Some of them were already starting to bud and bloom and blossom. They weren't all the same plant either. Some were roses, some were tulips. One guy had a beautiful bush. Another guy had a baby tree. It was like a bonsai tree. It was just so different. Charles looked at some of those pictures and just became more and more discouraged. One of his co-workers said, and Charles, how's your plant doing? And Charles was honest. He said, my plant has not even broken soil yet. Charles was so discouraged. Weeks turned into months, 7 months, 8 months. Everybody's bringing in these incredible pictures. Charles didn't have any sign of life in his planter, as if it was dormant. Well, the day came. 1 year, Everyone's excited. The CEO is meeting with everyone in the conference room. Literally, some of the executives had to get a cart and wheel their plant up the elevator into the conference room. They were humongous. They were beautiful. They were colorful. All except for Charles' planter. It was nothing but a planter filled with dirt. That morning, Charles said, honey, I can't go to work. I'll be the laughing stock. I'll be so humiliated. I can't go. And the missus looked at her and said, honey, one of the main reasons why I love you so much is because you are a man of character and honesty and integrity, and we did everything we could. You have nothing to be ashamed of. Charles went. And he stood in the back of the conference room with his little pile of dirt beside him. The executive walked in. He was just blown away at the greenhouse he just walked into. Gorgeous plants, beautiful shrubbery, a little beautiful tree. And then he looked back against the back wall, and Charles was holding that wall up, head down, shoulders drooped. And the executive said, Charles, what happened? And Charles didn't even have enough courage or boldness to say a word. And the CEO, his heart was heavy for Charles. So he walked over to him, put his hand on his shoulder. He said, come with me, Charles. Nothing to be upset about. He walked Charles to the front of that conference room. And he said, as he reached into his bag, his briefcase, he pulled out an actual baton from a track meet. And he said, ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce to you the next CEO of our company. And he handed the baton to Charles. Everyone was they were just shocked, and some were angry, and they said, that wasn't the deal. Look at his planter. It's nothing but dirt, and look what we brought you. And the CEO smiled. He said, 1 year ago, today, this very day, I handed each one of you an envelope. Within that envelope was a seed. What you don't know, that those seeds were boiled in water. That means they're dormant. None of those seeds could have grown. They were dead. There was no life inside those seeds. It makes me wonder how some of you grew your plants. It's not from the seed I gave you. If you were honest, you would have come to this meeting with the same planter Charles did, because those seeds were dead. Your new CEO is a man of honesty, integrity, and courage. That's what I built this business on. And one by one, the executives realized they were caught red-handed, and they began to congratulate Charles. Charles, his frown was turned upside down. Couldn't wait to call his wife right after the meeting. You're talking to the next CEO of the company. And the wife was overwhelmed with joy and love for her husband. I told you, Charles, be faithful. Do the best you can do. That's all you can do. And Charles did. And he became the CEO